Here we go. Welcome, guys, to BacT versus Tim, game number 1 in their 3-game series for the All-Star League here on Balitc. Down to the southwest, in the blue, we have BacT. He's playing as the Huns. And up to the north of the map, in the red, we have Tim playing as the Huns as well. Both these guys getting the Huns here. It is random mirror, so that means that neither player choosing their civ. It was chosen for them by the game itself. And the map itself was also randomly selected from the map pack. As you can see here, it is the All-Star League maps.rms, which means that it is randomly... it's basically a script that has all of the maps in the map pack inside of it. So, Balitc going to be interesting here because immediately what strikes me is this actual lake. It's very much off to one side. It's not something that you see that often. Normally, the players are kind of have a bigger body of water between them. In actual fact, this lake is going to be kind of interesting because the shoreline to the north and to BacT and to the south of Tim, if they decide to dock out here, is actually going to be really bad. There's not many fish in here at all, and it's also going to be a very short crossing distance if they do want to go for some kind of landing option or something like that. The main body of water is off to the right, and that could play quite a big part in this game with how players kind of approach taking the water here. It's all going to come down to scouting in the early game. And speaking of scouting, BacT, scouting his local area quite quickly, going to be moving across towards Tim quite quickly as well. And if you look at his scouting right now, there's not really a huge indicator at the moment that this this lake is very thin up to the north, but as he comes around the top side, he's going to start to see that this is actually very narrow here, and that's going to probably influence his decision on where he's going to dock it. If we look at Tim doesn't have that information yet, and Tim might decide to dock out here if he doesn't send his scout over in the next few moments. BacT coming in quite quickly here to try and basically deny a dock from Tim, to try and slow Tim's first dock down. If he can catch a villager out of position without loom, he will be able to... oh, I just realized the overlay background is a little bit messed up. Let's fix that. Okay, that's... hold on a second, guys. Hold on a hot second. There we go. We'll fix that there. Yeah, the overlay is... we're still kind of experimenting with it, and the background is independent of the actual overlay itself, so I have to resize it, I suppose. But thank you, Brain, for pointing that out, the creator of the overlay, as well as Madden in the chat there. But yeah, the scouting info in the early game, very important. And BacT's actually not going to hang around to try and find a villager. He's actually going to scout the whole circumference of this lake. Going to find a couple of extra sheep out here as well. Why not? Good stuff. And there you go. Tim is the one who is coming in looking for that villager. And boy, is he going to find that villager. That villager there, 7 health, running back to the TC. 2 more strikes will do it, leaving it on 1 health now. Tim gonna get the vill, suicides his scout for it, and you have to question, okay, is it worth it to lose your scout here in favor of killing the villager? The answer is, in my opinion, at this stage, yes. This is a map where keeping a scout alive isn't that valuable. I mean, it's very predictable what your opponent is going to do. And so getting the villager, I'd say absolutely worth it at this stage of the game. BacT, on the other hand, is, well, I was going to continue that thought, but let's actually load up the next part of the game. There was a drop, and we will now restore with part 2. Bear with us. There we go. BacT 15 population now, and it looks like I've got to restart the overlay as well when I load up the second game. Okay, we'll do that. No problem. BacT now down by actually 2 villagers at this stage, according to the overlay. Quite a significant difference already. Both players have 1 fishing ship out, and BacT here going to be playing from behind, to say the least. He will at least find a couple of extra sheep out on the right side. We do have 4 sheep, in fact, being brought back to BacT's base, whereas Tim doesn't have any additional sheep. But in theory, Tim should be able to get ahead on the early game water here, and that's going to be very good for him. Both players actually docking in the right place as well, and you see Tim does have information since he sent his scout out before he built the dock. He will, of course, see that this river is no good, and that the body of water is out to the right side. But yes, HD strikes again. There was a drop, but fortunately they restored it, and I believe there is also a restore in game 2, so I've been told, so we'll have to see what happens there. Obviously with both players playing Huns, I didn't really want to go into the civs too much, but it does make them pretty formidable on the water, generally speaking. The Huns, of course, do have don't have to build houses, so they do save a lot of wood over the course of the game. But what's interesting here is that Tim actually not rushing that feudal age quite as quickly as BacT here. He is going up with 2 additional villagers. 1 villager is accounted for the fact that he killed 1, and the second villager is accounted because he actually built a second village, or an extra villager, before clicking up to the feudal age. So you can see that Tim's going to be a little slower to the feudal age here. Both players building 4 fishing ships, and BacT going to be slightly ahead with that feudal age upgrade. The question is how many villas are going out to gold, and it's going to be 4, so we will see fire galleys coming out, and this 3 villagers going out for Tim, but he will probably send the 4th villager over. Either the first villager he makes from the TC will go over, or he'll send another villager over in a moment, as right now he comes and goes to build his second dock. You will see the scout from BacT, though. And BacT's going to try and be a nuisance, try and get revenge for the villager that died earlier. But if Tim's paying attention here, he should wall his villager in, because once BacT does hit the feudal age, he will be able to kill this villager. So Tim, he's blocking it. He's blocking it. Now he's going to fight. BacT is up to the feudal age in 10 seconds, and that's enough to push BacT away for now, because the villager will beat the scout until the feudal age upgrade comes in, and then the scout gets the +2 attack. Will Tim come out on top in this fight? This is going to be so important. It looks like the scout will win, and BacT gets his revenge. Tim going to have to bring another villager out, and well, everything's even now, I guess you could say, as BacT here will equalize in villagers and get his revenge on that villager. So Tim could be harassed a little more, but obviously with 3 health on the scout, 1 hit's enough to kill that here, and BacT doesn't want to risk losing his scout cavalry now for free. However, BacT is going to be getting his 3rd dock up by the time Tim's even built his 2nd, so you could argue that BacT's actually traded a much more valuable time of the game, killing the villager in the feudal age being more valuable than killing it in the dark age over on the other side of the map. Tim, though, wow, look at this. Interesting strat from Tim. No intention at all of building a 3rd dock here. Tim's got tricks up his sleeve. He's going to stone wall off this left-hand side with 3 villas and then sneak them around the back of BacT's base. And, you know, Tim knows that BacT's scout is over at his docks. He knows that the scout was buzzing around this area of the map, so he knows that he could probably get away with sneaking the villas out to the left side without BacT getting too suspicious for the time being. Of course, Tim going to try and, well, he built a galley, which is interesting. Wouldn't have expected to see a galley coming out, and I think he was going to try and kill the fish of BacT, but unfortunately for Tim, he's not able to find any fishing ships, and he's already lost most of his fish himself, and if he hasn't lost them already, he's about to lose them now, as BacT's fires come in to finish the job. Tim, though, with the sneak coming through on the left side, well, I wouldn't necessarily call it a sneak per se, but he is starting to build these buildings up now. BacT is walling off, though. And BacT knows, okay, well, he's on 2 docks. He's not really contesting the water. He tried to go for my fish, failed. And now I know that Tim is up to no good. Because you don't just give up the water and then not follow it up with anything. Tim following it up with an archery range on the left-hand side. And these 3 villagers out here could also build, I guess, a tower on the front or something along those lines as well, and be a nuisance. BacT, having his scout alive here can be quite valuable, since you could get some information from Tim's eco, but it doesn't really tell us a whole lot at the moment, other than the fact that he's still gathering gold, and he's not really committed that much to the water. So BacT is very much expecting something to be coming his way on the land. Oh, demolition ship coming in. If he'd have triggered it when they were together, he might have killed both of those fires there. But it looks like BacT will be able to clean up these fire ships before he loses any of his own fish. And that's putting BacT in a very good position, to say the least. He's 10 population ahead right now, and building an archery range on his left flank in anticipation, I suppose, of this landing. However, he hasn't closed it off yet. He hasn't completely walled it. And if Tim is fast, those archers are going to get in before the wall-off can complete. So, once again, as I was saying, before this game even started, once again, it's coming down to the land on this map, on this water map. It's coming down to the land. And there's the tower from Tim as well. As anticipated, he will build that on the berries here and on the wood line of BacT. The archers coming through, harassing the vills, pushing them back to the TC. And I'm kind of surprised that BacT didn't rush that wall off a little faster. Especially because, you know, he walled off this right side. And that is a long way around. So he walled off the long way around, completely ignoring the short distance on the left side of the map that Tim has to travel to get to his base. BacT here, going to lose access to his wood line in the north, building down towards his TC to make a choke point, and then building behind it with a blacksmith now. But yeah, this tower is going to be annoying as well, because that is also going to be in range of this wood line in the south, and suddenly BacT is having to come down here to build his lumber camp, and his economy is a mess, getting absolutely caught out by this aggression from Tim. And really, he shouldn't have been caught out by this, I feel. Tim's even going to go as far as to wall up this archery range right here. And if BacT lets his units out of the range, well, they're going to die, because there's a lot of archers and skirms on the hill, as Tim here completes fletching as well, or starts researching fletching. So I genuinely think that BacT is in a pretty dire situation already, as Tim is going to be an absolute nuisance and wall this up. But I mean, I feel like BacT should have been a little bit more ready for this, a little bit more prepared. Oh, wow, he will actually delete his barracks. That's an unusual move, but a pretty smart one. Deleting the barracks to enable these units to escape, but he won't be able to kill either of these villagers. And since Tim is able to retake the hill with a greater number of units, he will be able to push this away and then complete the wall off. And now BacT doesn't have a barracks either, so there you go. Oh, man, BacT here not having the greatest game, to say the least, as a second archery range comes up to the right of his TC. Fortunately, I mean, he does still have the water, but what's this, 6 fishing ships right now? Yeah, he's still got to contend with all this aggression from Tim. Of course, the tower here will certainly help to prevent these units from coming in too far and doing too much damage, but they are going to still be a bit of a nuisance. And BacT, well, Tim just doesn't care, man. He's walking those units under the TC, could not care less, as he runs them in straight to this wood line. He's like, all right, sure. I mean, I'll just suicide 2 archers if it means I can go and kill the wood line out here. Of course, this tower, as I say, definitely going to be helping BacT a little bit as he builds up a market to, again, make another choke point, and a quick slam gate there as well, trapping these units in. I think he's going to regret deleting this house here now. I think it was a house, because these units are going to take a lot less damage than they would if they had to walk directly under the TC. But still, good quick walling, good quick reactions from BacT, and I think that might have salvaged something here, that's for sure. Bear in mind that BacT, as I said before, does have the extra fish on the water, so that's keeping his economy propped up. And since Tim just threw away so many units and really got nothing of value out of that, I feel like BacT is actually suddenly in not such a bad position at all. Bear in mind that Tim's invested stone into a tower. BacT has also invested stone into a tower. Tim here has lost a lot of units, whereas BacT, he hasn't made that many units, so he hasn't lost that many. He's done the work with the TC. So I think, oh, sorry, what am I talking about? Of course it wasn't a house. What did he build there? I'm trying to think what he actually built in that position. I totally forgot that they were Huns for a moment. Did he have a gate here? No, what did he have? He had something here that was 4x4, sorry, 2x2. So I'm wondering, it was a gate. Yeah, of course it was a gate. There you go. So Because, yeah, it's super weird, isn't it? Because gates, they have actually got a 2x2 base, even though they're like a 3x1 build. It's kind of strange. Like, it's only when you place them diagonally. There was a gate. Yes, indeed. BacT actually going to grab some stone back here as well. And, yes, trolling. It was a dock. It was a wonder. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Who knows? Definitely was a house, I'm telling you. But BacT here, garrisoning inside of this tower to prevent Tim from pushing in any further. And it's a good job he did mine the stone and had the foresight to mine the stone, because this tower is absolutely crucial right now. It's going to prevent Tim from kind of coming forward any further. It's going to prevent Tim from coming through again with his army. And yeah, I think BacT is doing a great job. And oh wow, on the other side of the map, the landing here coming through as well. And Tim is now in trouble because these 5 archers, well, there's nothing to defend from this at all. So BacT making a great play by sending the archers through. Tim's going to try and quick wall this. So far, not losing too many villagers. I think just 1 villager going down on the farms. But his eco, it's so idle. Everything is idle for Tim. He's got 14, 15 idle villagers under this TC here. He's rushing up a tower. He's suddenly got no wood income at all. But fortunately, Tim, with that defensive tower on the gold, will be able to kill most of those archers, and he will send a couple of skirms over to deal with those guys as well. But still, there's more archers where they came from. BacT able to send a couple more round on the right-hand side. And that was, yeah, a nice play by BacT there. But at the same time, Tim is able to go up to the castle age here. He's got 65% of the way up. And once Tim hits castle, he's definitely got a lot more options available to him. He can add a siege workshop, for example, and start making rams or mangonels to start bringing down these tower and this TC. He is going to add 2 stables as well, so we are going to see a couple of knights coming out and getting into the back of BacT's base where he can start raiding this. And this is going to be very exposed to raiding, absolutely. In the gold at the back, BacT is going to find another villager. But I'm a little bit concerned now for BacT's position. Tim, he's behind by 1,000 points in the score, but don't underestimate his position and what just a couple of knights will be able to do here. Tim is so much faster to the castle age in comparison. BacT has just clicked up, and BacT's response immediately is to build a tower in the on the gold, start walling up the wood line. And I think he's very much anticipating this, and of course he is. Of course he's anticipating it. He's actually seen the stable. The value of doing town watch, guys. He sees the stable, and Tim thinks, yeah, this is surely out of his line of sight. There's no way he's going to see my stable out here. But BacT, I guess, seeing that, and he's actually able to react quite well to what is coming his way. 2 stables coming up for BacT as well. And he's now going to be able to bring his army back, get the archers here. And at the moment, there's no bloodlines for Tim. He has got +1 defense. He's fighting under the TC, though. And although there's only archers here, it's fighting under the TC in this tower, he's actually taking a lot of damage on these knights. However, Tim does have enough knights that he's going to be able to run through anyway, but there's more towers where that came from. BacT garrisoning inside of his towers here, keeping his villagers as safe as possible. Of course, not entirely safe. The knights are still very tanky, and they will find a couple of villagers still, but they're certainly... well, these towers are certainly mitigating the damage that these knights can do. And Tim now just completing +2 defense, which is really important at keeping these knights alive and assisting with their longevity in here. But BacT is going to buy himself enough time with these walls and going to be able to delay the damage for long enough to get to the castle age himself and come right back at Tim with some of his own knights and his own aggression here. Not only that, but since he has the water control, once he's dealt with this, he could send knights to Tim's economy as well. And Tim's going to be even more susceptible to knight raiding. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. BacT, actually, though, looking very low on the resources at the moment. He can afford a couple of knights, but he's going to do crossbow and bodkin arrow first, and that's absolutely the priority for him. Makes a lot of sense when you've got a good number of archers out already. A quick wall here to trap the knights in, nicely done, and that's going to be enough to probably clean up these knights here. well played by BacT. Did deal with that aggression very well, and absolutely worth it to get that Town Watch upgrade early enough to get the vision on that stable. I mean, I'm assuming he's got Town Watch. I can't remember if he got it exactly. Now, of course, now that Crossbow and Bodkin Arrow is done, he can now start that knight production. He can send them across if he likes in the transport, and I believe that the knights will be better to go across than the crossbows here, since the economy of Tim is kind of set up to deal with the crossbows quite well. He will be able to take them out quite quickly with the tower, for example. He's got some skirms back here, for example, whereas the knights can get in there. They can have, as I say, a lot more longevity under that arrow fire, and can deal with the skirms as well that are posted in defense from Tim. Meanwhile, though, Tim's coming forward with the ram, as anticipated. I mean, I thought it would be a ram because it's a little bit better at taking out the tower, and he doesn't have many villagers out here that he doesn't want to risk, I guess, sending the vills out. However, it's going to get taken out very quickly by the villagers, and Tim seems to be like throwing everything at this, but it's not really working out for him. He's just lost a lot right here. Look at the KD for BacT right now. 36 units killed, 22 units lost. And bear in mind that Tim has made quite a lot of knights as well. And as we know, knights are more expensive than these crossbows. Those knights from BacT coming through. Once again, disrupting that eco. We got some villagers coming round as well for BacT on this right-hand side, as Tim here tries to build a second TC at the back of his base. And yeah, BacT doesn't have any upgrades on these guys, so no bloodlines, no defense. He will, however, be able to delay the TC for a little while, and it's once again going to force Tim to send some units back to his own base now to defend, which in turn is going to reduce the pressure on BacT over on the other side of the map. So these knights will get cleaned up very quickly. Tim has bloodlines, he's got +2, BacT's completely unupgraded. But BacT is just going to go ahead and drop a TC out here. Because why not, I guess? That's hilarious. BacT's scouting is incredible, actually. He did such a good job of scouting his enemy that he's actually going to put a TC up here, and is Tim's just going to run past it. Oh, I don't believe it. Tim's never going to expect there's a TC coming up. He's never going to be watching there to see, oh, is there anything happening on my gold mine out on the right of my base? No. He's going to see it now in the fog of war, but it's too late. The TC is going to go up, and BacT did spot those knights, so he's walled the villagers in. That's just so funny to me, and it's just, yeah, I mean, it actually does make sense, because the gold for BacT is out on the front of his base here. And since Tim is playing so aggressive on the front, it might even be, somewhat safer to build his TC out on the other side of the map. It's definitely debatable, that's for sure. As Tim now runs away with his forward vills, knowing that they are going to be toast if he hangs around for too long. And yeah, I mean, BacT still in a pretty good position right here, building another TC out on this right-hand side. But BacT should be able to regain map control, I feel. He's still out teched, really, though, with these knights. But he should, well, I think he should win this fight. He's got some cavalry archers hanging out. He should be able to bring everything in and just clean these knights up. But he seems to be keeping his army quite split apart here. I imagine we're going to see that transport ship coming back in a moment and transporting units around this wall off here as well. But yeah, for the right side, BacT going to get that wall off complete. Going to prevent those knights coming through. Of course, he did know that the knights were on the way because he spotted it out with his TC here. And meanwhile, you've got Tim adding in a battering ram to start bringing down the TC here from BacT as well. Obviously not Tim's TC, even though it's on Tim's side of the map, which I find quite funny. These knights from Tim, though, actually doing quite a lot of damage. Just those upgrades really working well for Tim. He's kept them alive for a long time. And BacT did manage to convert one of them. And he does have a couple of monks here, so he should look to convert another one as well. And yeah, I mean, BacT saving for a castle by the looks of things. As he's got a lot of villagers grabbing the stone. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him dropping a castle down fairly soon. And I'd like to see him drop like an offensive castle and start really focusing on hitting Tim's economy now. Once again, Tim coming in with the knights, and once again, these knights doing quite a bit of damage just due to those upgrades. But it looks like BacT will get a conversion at least, and one of the monks will stay alive for a while, doing a little bit of healing as well. And finally, I don't want to say it, in case I am wrong, but it looks like finally BacT might clean this up. But even still, I'm a little bit a bit unsure about saying that. Funny that these cavalry archers, by the way, are trapped inside of the archery range here. They're behind this wall from Tim. They can't actually get out right now, which is kind of good and bad, I suppose, since he can actually attack the knights without the knights being able to attack him, which is nice. On the right side, Tim going for the TC. At this point, BacT has already made 9 villagers out here, or he has 9 villagers out here, but he has sent some knights over to accompany this siege rush. But is it enough? BacT gonna take down the rams. He needs to jump back into the TC and kill the knights here, but the TC is so low, he doesn't want to risk losing it and not having any protection at all for these villagers. But if BacT focuses down on the knights, should be okay. It looks like he might be able to actually... Oh, he's actually got his own army coming over. Alright, there you go then. This TC will survive for now. And the villagers ungarrison here as the TC gets below a certain threshold. And he'll kill the ram and take down the military from Tim. But what a messy game this has been so far. I mean, really. It's been ridiculously messy. And it looks like Tim, though, wants to get back on the water now. And he's going to be adding in 3 docks, doing war galley at the moment. 5 docks even. Doing war galley at the moment to get that fire ship upgrade. And meanwhile, we've got the castle coming up for BacT on the left-hand side. So, BacT right here has a lot more units out on the map in terms of army. He's got 39 military versus Tim's 11. And this is a great opportunity now for BacT to do some big damage. But if you look at the villager count, they're both on 94, 93. It's very close, in fact, in terms of how many villagers they have. Tim's up on 3 TCs, 4 TCs even. And although he doesn't have any fish on the water, he does have that extra TC over BacT. And BacT's TC on this right side has obviously been harassed quite a lot as well. So Tim's definitely still in this game, that's for sure. He's just got to get some army together and now defend from this raiding of BacT right here. Still, actually, we've got the unupgraded knights from BacT, which I think is quite funny, since they could do so much more. They could last so much longer if they had just a couple of upgrades on them. And you know, the Huns, you're going to want to get bloodlines anyway for your cavalry archers, at the very least, and for your knights. So it's still worth doing that. Anyway, the castle is up for BacT, and he will regain access to these important resources out here. This is a good position for the castle, for that reason. It's on the hill. He will protect the gold out here, and he will get the stone. Obviously, these 2 stables, not really producing anything. There is a single knight in there. But for the time being, you know, that castle will start to bring these buildings down. Just clear this out. It's in a good position to hit all of this. And I think that was very well placed by BacT. But on the water, things are starting to hot up. And it's actually war galley that we see Tim going for here. Hasn't he heard how powerful the fire ships are? Perhaps not. But war galley's coming through for Tim. And for the time being, it is enough to start retaking the water here. BacT actually built a dock out on this right-hand side to aid his fishing ships. I think that was a good move by him, a smart move. But Tim definitely posing a threat on the water now. As, wow, on the right-hand side, BacT cleans up a bunch of stuff. I'd love to tell you what that stuff is, but I can't tell by the corpses. I'm guessing it's a few skirms and a couple of archers, and not villagers, I would hope. As BacT here is still utilizing this TC, which is burning right now. Being a nuisance with these villagers. And I wonder, maybe he's looking for another castle. He is. He's getting another castle out here. Okay. Where is he? Well, I thought he was going to do another castle, actually. He does have the resources for it. Instead, Siege Workshop and a TC, another TC out here. Another one. And a stable as well. But I can't get over how messy this game is. It's an absolute mess, to say the least. Now, my concern for BacT at the moment is if Tim does retake the water, He will take down a lot of this eco down here, which is very exposed to the war galleys. And BacT at the moment, 94 villagers versus Tim's 107. His eco is so messy, to say the least. And Tim's pressure in the early game really disrupted his eco build-up. And this decision to build the TC out here, it's quite fun, it's quite funny, but ultimately, I don't think it's worked out so well. It's a lot of idle time. He's not really built any farms or anything. He's just mined a bit of gold and built a lot of villages and had them idling a lot because they've been under harassment from a couple of rams and a couple of knights. So BacT will make it up to the Imperial Age now. He's completed Bloodlines. He's doing leather archer armor for the defense on these cavalry archers. And I'm waiting for that castle from BacT. Can you get it out over here somewhere? It would be nice. Maybe get it on this backside and start attacking the TC as well. But those villagers, they're looking for a castle placement position, that's for sure. One thing I would give to BacT right now is the fact that he does have a very large army in comparison to Tim. And once these upgrades come through, we're talking, you know, Bracer, if you can get heavy cavalry archer, that would be great. If he's already got ballistics, I think, that's great. But he's got enough units to actually defend the villagers building this castle. And meanwhile, you've got Tim building a castle out here as well, on the right side. Oh man, it's just so messy. But I think this could be a doubt castle, to be honest with you. I think it could be a doubt castle. BacT can come in here and start killing these vills. The castle's on about 50%. Can he get the villagers, though? Can he stop this from going up? I almost feel like he should be able to. Tim isn't able to, like, actually saturate, I guess, or surround the castle with builders. But the Mangonel is enough to push BacT away. And that could have been a real different story had that Mangonel gone down there. Unfortunately for BacT, he wasn't able to take it out. The TC fire from Tim really helping things. And obviously, still, as I say, BacT doesn't have the +1 defense on his knights. So they died very quickly. Had he had +1 defense, maybe he would have killed that Mangonel and he would have denied the castle. So it could have happened. It could have happened. But yeah, I mean, BacT's like building TCs all over the map. He's got one on this far right side. He is mining so much stone this game. I remember there was a stone mine here a minute ago. It's gone. Remember the stone mine out here? It's gone. He's now taking, or he was taking the stone of Tim at the back, but he's temporarily stopped his stone mining operations so he can build another one on the front of, or at the back, I suppose, of Tim's base. And BacT is basically just castle rushing Tim right now. I like this kind of play. I love it a lot. He's got a treb out from the castle on the hill here, so he's able to bring the castle down very quickly from Tim. And Tim is still in the castle age. What is Tim doing at this point that's going to be able to bring in this game back? I don't think there's any way back for Tim right now. He's ram rushing. He's trying to ram rush. He's trying to build another castle at the bottom of the hill again. And this castle's going to go down to the Treb so quickly. Meanwhile, this castle here on the left side for BacT is going up slowly but surely, 94%. He's going to try and finish that off as quickly as he can. But, oh no, he lost the villager back here. How did that villager die? It must have been this castle focusing it down. 98%, and BacT will not finish the castle right now. Meanwhile, he's garrisoning all of the cavalry archers inside of his own castle so he can do some extra damage. But this is going to be real. It's going to be a real tough nut for Tim to crack as the second castle now goes up. And, you know, all he has to deal with now are these rams. Meanwhile, Tim... The villagers dropping out of the castle here, dying so quickly to the castles of BacT. And it's GG from Tim right there, as BacT will claw his way back into that one after defending from quite an aggressive landing from Tim. And I don't even want to say that he clawed his way back, actually. I think that was just a really, really crazy game. It was all over the place. It was so messy. At the same time, so entertaining and enjoyable as well. BacT's eco was an absolute mess. Look at this. 10 idle villagers in this TC. Bunch of idle villagers down here. These villagers chopping wood from like a mile away from these lumber camps. These villagers just gathering stone. These villagers at this stone mine idling for a long time. All these farms going idle. These villagers idle. Up at the north, he even had villagers inside of this TC instead of gathering the gold. All of the villagers which he sent to build this castle dying. Like, BacT's eco was so crap, but the pressure was on, and Tim just couldn't deal with BacT just having a single treb at the back here and being able to basically just have a larger army and drop some castles on his face. Tim wasn't able to defend from that, still being in the Castle Age, and he had no real way to get to the Imperial Age either, because he would have lost so much farmland. He wouldn't have been able to get the resources stockpiled up, considering he had to throw everything he had at these castles to prevent that from happening. So there you go. GG. And BacT going to get his victory there. Point on the board for him right now, as he'll go 1-0 in this series after a pretty crazy Baltic war. That was very good. Very enjoyable and exciting stuff. But right now, we have game number 2 between BacT and Tim. And we are, of course, going to be on Tim's home map, Migration. To the northwest of the map, in the blue, we have BacT. He's playing as the Italians. And off to the east of the map, in the red, we have Tim playing as the Malay. Interesting. This is the first time we're going to have a water map, I believe, with non-mirror civs. I do believe that Tim, when he played this map versus Doubt, chose to play as the Malay. And I do also believe that Doubt mirrored him and picked the Malay as well. All of the other maps that we've seen with water, all of the team islands, we've always seen Italians, if I'm not mistaken. So this is going to be the first non-mirror match here, and that could make things quite interesting, as both of these civs are great water civs, but they have very different bonuses when it comes to the water. Tim here on the right, as I say, and BacT on the left, but look how close they are. This is one of those migration maps where the players actually end up being very, very close together, and as a result, that could really throw the spanner in the works for these guys if for one player, if one of them goes ahead and scouts very effectively in the early game. Now, it's not uncommon to send a fishing ship out to find, what's out there under the fog. And I believe, actually, in the game versus Doubt last week, Tim did send a fishing ship out quite early and discovered Doubt's docks quite early. Now, if he does the same thing here, he's going to find, well, BacT is very, very close. That's tasty. I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive earlier on, potentially. And we'll have to see if that does come into play here, or if players will sort of play more blindly, I suppose, and do their sort of standard migration build-up, which is to, of course, build 2-3 docks in the Dark Age, make a ton of fishing ships, and have a relatively late feudal time. So, of course, the big difference between these civs, the Italians get 50, their fishing ships only cost 50 wood instead of 75. For migration, I feel like that's actually a very strong bonus indeed, due to the fact that you are going to be making a lot of those fishing ships. And they have the cheaper dock techs as well. In fact, I'm not got a co-caster right now, so I can just show you the tech tree. So dock techs minus 50, fishing ships minus 25 wood, and they advance to the age less 15% in terms of the cost of that. So makes them very good for water, absolutely. And the Malay, on the other hand, they get the 80% faster upgrade time. The fish traps cost less. The fish traps provide unlimited food, but the fish traps aren't really going to be coming into play until much later stages of the game. So really, it's all about that upgrade time for the Malay. So I actually would pin the Indians to be the stronger civ, but if Tim is able to figure out, actually, BacT's very close to me, I'm going to get very aggressive a little bit earlier on. That could actually work out very well in Tim's favor. Absolutely. All right, see you later, T90. See T90 in the chat there. I think it's probably Premier League final day today, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So I imagine all the football fans out there are going to be tuning into that. So right now, as I say, we're going to be seeing that kind of migration build-up, which is going to be adding in those docks, starting to fish away. Tim actually building his first dock at the back here. He's going to have good fish, of course, and not building it out on this top side. BacT, on the other hand, also going to be building his dock at the back as well. and he's going to have much worse fish in comparison due to the way that the middle area of the map kind of juts out towards his island and forces like a narrow I guess a narrow river in a sense, where there's not enough space for many fish to spawn. So this isn't the best dock for BacT. And in fact, if he built the dock on the top, he would have a much better time fishing. But since both players have built their first docks kind of away from each other on the opposite side of the islands to one another, it might be a while before they figure out exactly how this is looking. And of course, with limited scouting information, you can only guess at what the rest of the map looks like. Something we saw Tim do as well versus Doubt, which was quite good, was getting a lot of scouting on the center as quickly as possible, using sheep to scout. And we'll see if they are able to do that. I'm looking where the sheep are, and it looks like maybe Tim could grab one sheep down here, but it's more likely that BacT will find these two sheep and be able to scout the center of the map a little faster once he does get a line of sight onto that. As far as the center island goes itself, as usual, it's very hilly. There's not that many spaces for TCs. The gold is kind of quite evenly spaced. You've got one big gold to the left, you've got one big gold to the right, and the stone is kind of more heavily towards the right side of the map. So this area right here, sort of between these two stone mines and the gold, this area, very, very good to control this, and I think that's what Tim will do. And there you go, look, scouting the center of the map with the sheep. And Tim, as I said, quite quickly sending that fishing ship out. And normally my memory is terrible, but it serves me right today. And Tim is going to go ahead and scout this map very early on. And this information, this scouting information, is going to be valuable. Unfortunately for Tim, he did send the fishing ship, I guess, the wrong way around, if you want to put it that way. He has sent it the long way around the island. Meanwhile, his sheep is traversing the island as well, and he's going to know when he gets to this corner of the map and starts heading upwards that BacT is going to be very close by. And we'll see if that influences Tim's decision here in what he will do. Both players basically mirroring each other at the moment. I think BacT might already be up though. Oh yes, BacT is up. I knew he was up because he sent villagers out to gold already. And that's pretty quick. 27 villagers, 28 population. For migration, that is considered very quick. And in fact, BacT, with only 4 fishing ships, is going up in a blazing fast time here. Very unusual, and I think, you know, if he'd built the docks on the other side, if he scouted already, man, that could be super valuable as well if he gets aggressive here. And since, you know, following up with a fast castle off the back of this, with only 4 fishing ships and only a few berries left at home, it's going to be very hard. He's actually moved the villagers away from the berries now in favor of getting more villas onto the wood and gold so we can actually make more boats. But the question is, will BacT go to the south? Or will he go to the east? Because if he goes to the south, he's going to have a very long distance to travel. And that is the risk that you have to deal with when it comes to playing migration. Go the wrong way around, and it's going to be a long time before you see your enemy. Of course, Tim can afford to go up to the next stage a bit later because he does upgrade so much faster, 80% faster as we know. Tim now, amazing scouting information. He's picked up more sheep. He's scouting across the middle of the map, searching for the gold, searching for the stone, helping him to make better decisions later down the line. And just look at that score difference here. Tim clicking up to the feudal age now, but there's like a 200 score difference between them already, nearly a 300 score difference in fact, as BacT queues up his first boats, and 3 fire galleys for BacT coming out now. I think, to be honest with you, that Tim is in a very good position here. Look how many villagers he has mining on the gold right now. He's got 10 gold miners, which is quite interesting. Moving his villagers away from berries, but the big difference between them are these fish. Tim has 4 fish up on the north, and he's got another 7 fish down on the south. Comparing that to BacT's 6 fish in total, he's really ahead in terms of fishing ships. The question is, will BacT be able to kill some of these fish thanks to his faster feudal time or not? And the answer is probably going to be not, because Tim's already getting a fire ship out by the time BacT has even reached him. And unfortunately for BacT, he fell into the migration trap, and he went the wrong way. The wrong way around the island in the middle, sending those boats the painfully long way around this map. It's going to take him so long to get over to this right-hand side. Tim, with the transport ship quite quickly as well coming through, docking out here on the right-hand side. And again, this is very similar to Tim's style versus Doubt as well. He's got this this playstyle down, and he's going to get that dock up in time before these boats come in as well. So Villager's going to be safe, and the dock will be completed. So this dock serves a couple of functions. You can, of course, bring boats down here to take the fish later on. It also, of course, can be used to make military as well. So nice to spread your docks out as much as possible when it comes to keeping your fish nice and efficient, I suppose. Tim up in the north as well, able to get 2 fire galleys out, prevent the fire galley from BacT doing any damage. And now look at the resources. Tim's quite far ahead in that resource count, and his food is going to be accelerating much faster as well. His food is definitely going to be going up towards 800 much quicker than BacT will be. BacT adding in a demo raft, and right now we've got the market coming up for BacT. I mean, BacT could speed up his castle time by selling stone and then buying some food. In fact, that's probably what's going to happen. But Tim, on the other hand, might not even need to sell the stone here in order to beat BacT to the castle age. Got the blacksmith coming up in the center. And, of course, it's worth sending the villager out here as well, not just for the additional scouting information, but once he gets to the castle age, you can build a monastery, you can start gathering the relics. Having a couple of monks in the center makes it easier to prevent your opponent from completing their landing, plus the fact monks have fantastic line of sight. So, yeah, really strong position for Tim, I feel, that's for sure. But Tim's actually behind in population right now, and I think BacT did start adding more fishing ships in. But you have to bear in mind that Tim's had his fishing ships working for longer. BacT is up to the castle age though, and he did sell that stone. Army now coming in for BacT. He got one nice demo shot. Meanwhile, you've got Tim sending the demos in as well. And Tim right here should get... Yeah, he should get... Oh, wow. Okay, that was close. BacT actually going to come out on top over there. And wow, there's more boats where that came from as well. Tim, okay, we're going to load up part 2. I was going to say, though, Tim out here on the right side with 3 boats, trying to protect the larger area of his fishing economy. Whereas BacT has got the majority of his navy out on the left side. So we're going to load up part 2. Part 2 coming in right here. To reset the overlay as well. There we go. Part 2. Done. Okay, cool. So BacT could start doing some big damage out on this left side. Tim making a few more demo rafts, and as I said before many times, you really have to make sure those demo rafts hit their multiple targets. Hey, sailing backwards. Oh, HD, you never fail to amuse me. But yes, Tim on the way up to the castle age, and he's doing it 80% faster. So even though BacT clicked up quite a lot earlier than Tim, you can see BacT is at 64% of the way up. Tim's going to be overtaking him and probably hitting castle age about the same time even. Which again puts Tim in a great position here, I feel. Though BacT has started to pull things back a little bit. He's obviously equalizing now in the fishing ship count. But as I said before, Tim did have them working for longer. And that's what's going to matter in the long run. Tim still trying to fight up in the north. Galley numbers are pretty even out there. And I'm just looking now at how many docks we've got for BacT. We've got 6 docks for BacT. And Tim has just the 4, I believe. So BacT is going to be able to outproduce Tim. Oh, BacT here, sending a transport ship out. Going to get spotted by Tim. And there you go. Both players actually hitting the castle age at almost an identical time there as well. Lovely demo raft shots from BacT. Getting a few boats very nicely done. BacT looks like he's taking the advantage on the water here. And I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to hold that advantage. since he has got the additional docks out. His dock checks are cheaper as well, so War Galley more than affordable, able to get that straight away. And BacT having the upgrades now, allowing him to really push this advantage on the water. So yeah, interesting how this has kind of played out. Two very, very different civs in terms of their bonuses. And they've ended up actually reaching the castle age at a very similar time, with a very similar number of villagers as well. So many demo rafts on the water though, jeez. Explosions all over the place. Ridiculous. So, BacT, I think, wants to land on the center very soon. I'm wondering where that transport ship got to. There it is. Sending his villager and a scout towards the middle now. And in the meantime, Tim making more and more and more and more demolition ships. I don't necessarily agree with that decision. I agree that, yes, they can be quite impressive. Taking down 2 ships at once are very nice. But BacT has more ships where that comes from, where they came from. And I don't think demo rafts are necessarily the way to win the water. But if he follows it up with some more fires, he's definitely going to be able to hold his own on the water, that's for sure. So, right now, I mean, Tim in the center of the map, building quite a lot of houses out here, getting good vision, collecting all the sheep up as well. I mean, just herding his sheep out here. I'm expecting him to throw down another TC somewhat soon, I would hope. But he actually did, I think, sell his stone as well to get to the castle age a little faster. So this villager just... Oh no, maybe not. Maybe maybe he bought stone then. I don't know. But either way, he is throwing down that TC. I mean, I expected him to do that any moment now. Tim currently doing careening. Counting down from 0 seconds. We're currently at minus 12 seconds on careening here. As that tech comes in. Obviously, yes, the overlay is still very much in development. It is still being worked on. BacT already has careening, so he's going to have a small advantage in this fight. But when careening completes for Tim, I imagine he'll take this over now. He will indeed. Pushing it back. And Tim so far keeping his fishing ships nice and safe. But I do like the choice from BacT here a lot. I do like BacT's decision to actually add in the war galleys, because these islands on migration are so small that war galleys can do a lot of damage from the shoreline. The only problem is war galleys alone are going to get beaten hands down, pound for pound, by these fire ships. So BacT's actually going to lose a few ships here, and he can't really fight as well as he'd like. I think he needs to focus on taking out the fire galleys, or sorry, the fire ships, and then he can use his war galleys to harass the woodlines and stuff. Nice demolition hit there, though, actually. Did a lot of damage to multiple ships, and that's exactly what he needs to be aiming for. Got another one coming through. If you can get that in the middle and detonate, nah. A little bit too soon, BacT. A little bit too soon, but another demolition raft should come through, and that should help to clear things up. But, I mean, I do like the idea of sending war galleys in, just because of how much damage he can do from the water. He can kill a lot of villagers, especially like these ones, for example, and these ones, which are gathering the wood. And if you can really reduce your opponent's wood income, it's definitely going to help you keep the upper hand on the water, that is for sure. So BacT right now ahead by 6 population. It's mostly army, because Tim is ahead in villagers. And I think that's a way that BacT now is going to get back into this in terms of, well, not back into it, but a way that he's going to be able to get the edge in economy, or get an edge back in economy. There you go. A little bit of a delayed demolition ship explosion, but definitely a good one. And now BacT can start hitting these wood lines, and suddenly those 3 additional villagers for Tim is going to shrink quite quickly if these war galleys come in. There you go. He's already killed 1. If Tim doesn't react, he'll kill many boats. Sorry, many villagers even. He will kill many boats as well if he keeps sending the demolition rafts in, or demolition ships. God damn. Getting them mixed up. Tim taking the sheep. I mean, why not? Free food. Why not? Let's see what else he can do from the water. Obviously with ballistics and bodkin arrow and war galley, he just have great range. And Tim having to move his lumber lines a little bit here, having to redistribute his eco a little bit. Maybe he wants to send some more villas over to the middle, perhaps, as he loses more villagers now on this gold. And in fact, we're now going to see BacT probably taking a villager lead very soon. Meanwhile, BacT has sent a villager across to the center, as we know, sending his scout as well, building a monastery, grabbing the relics. It's always worth doing that. And I'm actually surprised we didn't see Tim building a monastery sooner. And maybe we'll see a second TC from BacT in the center fairly soon as well. But still, I mean, the fire ships are just so good that BacT is having a real hard time massing enough war galleys to actually contend with this. Once you get to a critical mass of war galleys, the fires aren't a problem anymore. Oh, a great demolition shot here from the dock. That was nicely done. And now BacT is going to get the advantage here again, I think, allowing him to once again hit back at Tim's economy. But I mean, Tim's done a great job of keeping these fish alive. He's almost fished out the sea here. We have a serial case of overfishing on this right-hand side, and BacT needs to take those ships down. And with his larger navy, with double the war galleys here, or double the navy of Tim, I think he should be able to do that. Or at least that should be on his radar anyway. For now, still trying to harass the economy of Tim a little bit, but if BacT just comes south, I think he'll easily win this fight. 27 army versus 14. BacT surely has the edge here. Even if there are a couple of fire ships thrown in, BacT should be up to numbers. He's got a demolition ship behind. He should be able to bring it in and clean things up. And I think this is a good fight for BacT to take, absolutely. And if he can take down these few remaining ships, he's got an in. He's got a way to hit these fish. He's got a way to start really killing more vills. BacT is only behind by 4 villagers right now, but he's only on 1 TC as well. Bear in mind that Tim has been had that TC up on the mainland for quite some time. But yes, Tim looks like he's putting up an okay-ish defense, but I feel like BacT should be able to overwhelm this still. Where's the reinforcements? BacT! Gotta keep them coming through. It's actually BacT who's now falling away. But still, I mean, he still has additional ships on the water. Just Tim is able to reinforce so much faster that he ends up pulling himself an edge. Nice micro from BacT there as well, though, as he retreats away. That was nicely done. So BacT on the center of the map, building up a TC now. Finally. He has got vision of the TC of Tim, of course. He knows that the TC is there. He sees the wood being chopped. He sees it through the fog. Tim with a monastery as well, and mining the gold out. See what his main gold looks like. It's not too bad, actually. Still got quite a bit of gold left there. Got the monastery, university up for both players, and BacT on the way up to the Imperial Age now. So I think BacT's done a really good job throughout the Castle Age. He's pressured Tim quite a lot. He's got Tim playing very defensively out here, and he's able to go up to the Imperial Age that much faster for 2 reasons. One is that he didn't build the second TC for until much later on, and so he wasn't investing as much food into more villager production. And 2, he's the Italians. It's 15% cheaper to go to the Imperial Age, so that's going to give him that nice edge with this upgrade here. Still though, army count's looking even now, as Tim's going to come forward with more fire ships, and these fire ships are just so good. He will be able to once again clean up or like push back BacT's navy, I should say, as those fires come through. Tim, though, still not up to the Imperial Age, and he's still got a way to go. He's still fishing quite nicely. He's still got great control of the center of the map, although he did just lose a villager to a conversion out here. But yeah, he's going to be a lot later to Imp, and that's where things can get scary, because if BacT, hits Imp so far ahead of Tim that he can just really push his tech advantage and really get the most out of that tech advantage, then it's going to be very difficult, I feel, for Tim to really hold on the water anymore. For the time being, it's been pretty back and forth. It's been pretty close. BacT's made the aggression, Tim's defended it, and that's happened time and time again. But once BacT gets Galleon, once BacT, I guess, could go into fast fires, Tim's suddenly not going to have the ability to do that anymore. And that could end up costing him the water. Although you have to then question, well, is losing the water this late in the game so much of a big deal? And, you know, the later the game goes on migration, the more valuable the center of the island becomes, or the center of the map becomes. Because that's where the extra resources are. That's where all the gold is. That's where the majority of the landmass on the map is. But, of course, Tim's not going to want to just give up the water for free anyway. But he definitely looks like he's holding on to this center island very, very well. BacT, though, has got Bracer coming in any second now. As Tim now researches the Imperial Age upgrade. And he's not going to be too far behind. So, I don't think that BacT is going to be able to fully capitalize on his tech advantage. He is, however, making a trebuchet, and he's going to deploy that either onto this monastery or onto the TC. I think it's the monastery. He wants to deny that relic. But behind this, unbeknown to BacT, there is a castle from Tim. Unfortunately for Tim, he's at the bottom of a hill, though, and that means that everything up here is going to have that juicy attack advantage, meaning that this monastery is going to go down incredibly quickly. And so will the TC as well. Meanwhile, Galleon is complete. Bracer is complete. And Tim is in full retreat, as he cannot contest against this navy. His villagers on the gold out here are getting taken down. And Tim, this castle, it's so far away from the shoreline, I don't think it's really going to help him much defending the water. So it looks like BacT's going to be able to loop around here and come around, maybe find some more villagers on the wood lines, for example. And really just surround this island that Tim's found himself on. Fast fire coming in for Tim, though, wasting no time. And BacT, would you believe it, just doing wheelbarrow right now. It's 37 minutes, but it doesn't really matter because he doesn't have many farms. And oh no, Tim making a doubt castle out here. 93%, 96%, 98%, but losing so many villagers building that. It wasn't quite a doubt castle. He will complete it. Nicely done by BacT to get those picks. And Tim now finishing up fast fires. He's going to try and get an engagement, but he just doesn't have many numbers, to be frank. He's got 18 military units out right now, and those fast fires are extremely outnumbered. Although they take a pitiful amount of damage per shot, the demolition will come in and do some nice damage as well. Look at this fast fire ship right here. It takes no damage at all. It's ridiculous. Yes, I like the way that BacT has built his stone walls out here. That's very nice. Just to help protect his trebuchet, of course, and allow his trebuchet to have free reign over this section of Tim's economy. It's nice. Tim has got, you know, a foothold here, but it's definitely under a lot of pressure. It's definitely in peril. BacT, meanwhile, mining the gold quite nicely at the back. His own gold on his main island is actually gone now, so he's going to have to start sending more vills to this gold out here. And unfortunately for BacT, that gold is actually in a very, very bad position. Both players are really hurting for gold at the moment, in fact, as the reserves of gold are basically at rock bottom for both players. Tim, with the fire ships, able to really regain water once again, and it's now Tim who has the larger army. Tim's fires really doing the trick against those galleons. And, yeah, I mean, unfortunately for BacT, he just can't saturate this gold very well. You know, half of it's blocked by the tree line to the north. He has to put the mining camp somewhere, and that's also blocking here as well. And, yeah, it's really inefficient. It's really messy. But at least he can get some gold from that. Meanwhile, Tim is struggling to gather gold at all because every time he builds a mining camp, the trebuchet kills it. And if BacT keeps doing that, well, Tim's going to be starved of gold. The market prices at the moment are decent. Stone can be sold for 75, food at 78, wood at 76. So they can turn to the market if things become too much of a dire situation. But still, the fast fires from Tim saving the day for him at the moment, as the galleons from BacT are all gone now. There's no galleons left. It's all about the fast fire ships. I feel like they're just so overpowered almost on the water. And the problem with the water triangle is that it's not really a triangle. You know, the theory is, well, galleons counter demolition ships counter fires, and fires counter galleons. It's supposed to go in like a circle like that, or a triangle like that, however you look at it. But the fact that you lose the demolition ship when it explodes kind of doesn't make it a triangle anymore. it gives you real big problems. So fire ships just become super strong, and fire ships can dominate on the water in the late game. Tim, though, losing a castle out here, and it looks like he might just lose a trebuchet as well. We did see some of these Malay karambits coming out, but they're just so weak. And amazingly, BacT will keep his TC alive, he'll keep his trebs alive as well. And I'm really pinning BacT as the favorite, to be honest, here, as it's been such a back and forth fight on the water. BacT's now sending more vills across to the center, and yeah, as Flo and AOC in the chat says, oh no, not the karambits. Yes, the karambits, they're coming out. They're so cheap and so rubbish, but if they can snipe a couple of these unprotected siege units, it's absolutely worth it. And in fact, I think they will, as BacT is sending his units forward now, immediately retreating them away as soon as he sees those karambits coming in, making sure to get into the TC so that they can take the karambits down quickly, and he can try and save his important and valuable trebuchets here. Both players are hurting for gold, as I say, and BacT cannot afford to lose trebuchets right now. They're too expensive. But yes, such another messy game, as both players still fighting for that water control. Again, BacT seems to now have the edge after losing it multiple times and then coming back multiple times. But as I say, the focus ends up switching very much towards the center of the map here. One thing to note, by the way, is that BacT did lose most of his fish out on the south here. He didn't rebuild his docks or anything, so those fish are all gone for BacT now. Whereas Tim's able to fish away still, building docks in the south of the map to access the fish down here. And he's just hoovered the ocean of fish. There's no fish left in the ocean out here. It's quite funny. But that's something that's really kind of, I don't know, propping Tim up a little bit. He definitely has, you know, there's definitely some value in having that food income still. But once again, the galleons coming in, and they're going to find some more villagers in this wood line. Both players at like 100 vills each. Both players struggling to get their population up. Both players struggling for gold still. But it's definitely Tim who is struggling the most. He, as I say, cannot build a mining camp. Every time he builds the mining camp, the Treb kills it. So he's like long distance mining this. Where are they going? To the mining camp over here, yes. And there you go again. He tries to build the mining camp. A hail of rocks come from the sky. It's like, nope. And now, of course, we've got some crossbows coming in for BacT as well. So this is really nice. He's going to be able to kill the karambits super easily with 30 health and 3 pierce armor. Yeah, no problem. Karambit's down. And he's just going to lock down that gold. Very nice. Yeah, I'm feeling like BacT's got this game in the bag here. I think it's his game to lose, you could put it that way, at this point. He's definitely got himself in the dominant position. He's got the majority of the center island for himself. He's mining gold safely, which is really important right now. As Rez would say, there's no trash for the water. And his Trebs just doing so much work on these hills. He's just got like a map advantage where he's got the hills on his side. Look how quickly these TCs are falling. And this game is well and truly in the bag. I would say that for BacT at the moment. As I say, even if he loses the water now, what is he really losing? Because if he pushes Tim off of the land, there's no way Tim can really win this game, I feel. I mean, you could have a huge stalemate, I guess, but BacT will eventually take an eco lead and rebuild up on the water. So, whereas Tim will just be starved for resources, as there's practically nothing left on his home island. Apart from farms, of course. And yeah, BacT here, just slowly but surely. I mean, he's not rushing in. He's not throwing anything away unnecessarily. He's being very cautious as he pushes forward with his trebuchets. On the south side, Tim not being very safe at all. I mean, this trebuchet here fighting the castle, uphill of course, and BacT able to send out a single battering ram to attack this trebuchet. And as we know, rams have an attack bonus versus trebs, so I think it's 4 hits, and they'll go... No, it's 3 hits even, and they'll go down. So, bye-bye treb. And Tim, that's 200 gold and 200 wood that he cannot just throw away like that. And there you go, unprotected treb going down. Not so good at all, and I like the way that BacT has just played very cautiously out here. He's once again seemingly winning the water. Of course, you can't really fight underneath this castle because the fire ships are going to be protected by it. So he's just kind of hanging around at the north of Tim's island. Nearly wasting a treb there to the fire. I mean, who would have thought that? Fire ship killing trebs? Never. But no, the treb will stay alive as BacT notices in time, gets it away. Another castle going down for Tim out here. And Tim, well, he's got a lot of villagers out here now with the transport ship dropping a bunch more over. Try to mine the stone to get another castle up or something like that. But Arbalest now done for BacT. Stable coming up as well, so I guess he can add some knights to deal with these skirms. And denying the relics as well, actually. That's a good point. I didn't consider that. But Tim did have the 2 relics, which are now gone as well. And as you guys in the chat are saying, as I'm saying, this game is in the bag for BacT, as he will also win this fight up in the north as well, I imagine. Or he should win this fight. I mean, it's so weird seeing fire ships fighting, but he will get the upper hand. And Tim's really left with nothing here. Yet he's not resigning, and obviously, you know, it's a tournament game. He doesn't want to give up too soon. But I think now is the time, and he will indeed call GG right now as well. And it was a good game for BacT there, indeed. Stop with the Dota memes? What Dota memes? I'm not sure what I said anymore. I don't know what I said. But yeah, I mean, that was a really good game from BacT. It was a messy one once again. And I thought Tim played well in the early game. I think he did do a good job. He landed very early. He established a presence in the center of the map very early. He identified that, like, this area, like I said, between the 2 stones and the gold is the most important potentially to control. He was ahead on the water for some time, but BacT was able to engage very, very carefully in the center and take some good fights, keeping his units alive. And just look at the KD in the end as well. 230 units killed to 146 units lost. And BacT also, don't underestimate the value of this hill as well. And I think, you know, Tim could have been in a much better position if he'd have actually built on top of this hill as well, with a castle perhaps. Because I believe he built his first castle here, and you never want to be building your castle at the bottom of the hill. It's just makes it so much easier for your opponent to crack it. And yeah, I think Tim maybe should have prepared some defense up this way and really took the hill here, because I think this is the only hill that's really worth controlling, since it's in the center of the island and it's definitely the largest as well. So yeah, maybe Tim could have considered grabbing the hill here. But other than that, it was a very back and forth game on the water. No player really had complete water dominance until the later stages of the game. And that's always the challenge with migration. The balance between water and land. Finding that right balance and making sure that you invest your resources into the right place at the right time. I think that's exactly what BacT did. And we can see at the achievements there, BacT was able to, in the end, gather a lot more gold and also gather a lot more wood as well, which is, of course, very important for building those ships. Villager high for BacT in the end. 3 relics as well, gathering gold over time, 1,800 additional gold from that. And once he denied the 2 relics at the end for Tim as well, that's obviously going to give him another huge advantage in the late game. So there you go, it's a 2-0 for BacT, and as I said before, the third game isn't played because of internet issues with Tim. Tim decided to give BacT the admin win instead of rescheduling to just finish the third match, and so that means that the end of the series will actually end up being a 3-0 victory to BacT. I'll update that so that's clear, and that's going to be it for our second series.